This is a demonstration of Superior Drummer 2 from Toontrack. This software is both PC and Mac compatible. It comes with VST audio units and RTAS plugin formats. Along with being used inside of a DAW as a plugin, Superior Drummer can be used as a standalone application, and that's included in the software. And it can be used as a 32-bit application or a 64-bit application, depending on your operating system or your DAW. What you're looking at here is the sample engine interface, which is included with Superior Drummer. Also included is the drum sample library, which has 20 gigabytes of multi-sampled drum instruments that were recorded at Avatar Studios in New York. You also get a fairly large groove library of MIDI grooves that can be used to play back the drums. And you also get some mixing presets that are included from some big name producers, and you can look on Toontrack's website for more information on that. Let me get in now to the controls and let you hear how it sounds. What you're seeing here is the construct view inside of the plugin. There are many different views, and I'll go over each of these quickly. The construct view, you can play back the drums to hear how they sound. Here you can also change the drum so that not just is there one snare, but there are multiple snares that you can select from. Again, some of these are 14-inch snares, and you have some 10-inch and 13-inch piccolo snares. So it's a fairly good amount of snares and many different sounds, from tight, crisp snares to kind of low tune snares. They complement each other really well. For the toms, you have clear heads and coated heads. For the kick drum, you have a couple different ones here. You can also select different kinds of drumsticks, or with the bass drum, beater head, felt, and plastic. And then with the cymbals, you have different effect cymbals or crash cymbals in each position. You can select different ones, from splashes to crash cymbals, multiple rides in different locations. You have a cowbell, just a little bit of percussion that you can see here. Let me switch over. This is the standard view. That just shows the drum kit. Now you have drum pads that you can select. Along the bottom, you'll see here some controls that go across all the different views. So you have memory and status. This kind of tells you how much RAM the drum library is taking up. You can switch between 24-bit and 16-bit if you want to cut back on some of the RAM usage. You can also cache the drum samples, so only the drum samples that are included in your MIDI performance are loaded, and the other ones are not loaded. And you can control some of the different things like the microphones, and switch between the different room mics and overhead mics and things here on all the views in the mixer. Then you have the master volume control and a way to play back the grooves. Control some of the voicing and sampling layers here. So these are multi-sample drums. So at many different velocity layers, the drummer hit the drums, so kind of soft ones and louder ones, to make it really realistic when you're playing it back, rather than just using a single sample that's just turned down in volume or turned up. You get the character of the drum when it's hit softly or when it's hit really loud. And you kind of have them multi-sampled, so they play in round robin. So you don't have, if you hit the drum hard and it doesn't play the same sample back, it plays back a different one. You can control some other things over here, like the pitch. You can control the envelope, so the attack or the sustain of the drum hit or the sample. You also have X drum, which is from Toontrack, which allows you to layer multiple drums. So you can select and layer multiple snares from this library, or if you purchase some of the other sample packs, expansion packs that are that you can get from Toontrack, you can layer those drum samples with this one by using X drum. Next up is the mixer view. In this view, you see all the different microphone channels that were recorded. So you have kick drums, snares, toms, overhead, and multiple room mics. What you can do here is insert effects. So these are EQs, gates, compressors, things like that. You can also bus these tracks. So if you want to create a bus for your kick drums or bus from your snares or whatever routing you can come up with, you can do that here. And then you also have the outputs channels. Default, the way the plugin is initialized, your output on output 1, 2, which goes straight in Pro Tools onto your instrument track, that you're using, but you can also bust these out to different things. You have multi-out, so you can go onto different audio tracks, or you can go onto auxiliary tracks, and then inside of Pro Tools, mix it like you would if you actually recorded the drums in a session as audio files. So that's pretty cool if you like to use other plugins. You don't necessarily want to use the stock effects that come inside of Superior Drummer, but that's up to you. You also can control bleed here. So with a snare bottom mic, you could do things like turn off the kick bleed going through the snare bottom mic, or turn it back on. Same with your overhead and room. You can turn the kick drum down in your room mics, or you can turn it up, or you can turn it off. You can do all those different things, which is more than you can do in the real world. A lot of times you have to use a gate or something like that. So you have grooves, and I'll take this opportunity to play some back. I have some other sample libraries, so that's why you see them here. You just get the avatar one, and let me play back some of these things so you can hear how it sounds. You can turn up the velocity or turn it down, like the drummer's hitting the drums harder. Turn it down. You can go in half time, double time. Let me switch back over, and I'll show you a different, that was kind of one kind of snare. I'll play you a different one. Go back to the grooves. There's plenty of different grooves included. They're recorded by Near Z, so they have great feel to them. Sound very realistic. Doesn't sound like a computer playing drums. It sounds like a real person playing the drums, which is great. Exactly what you would want. Control the velocity. Then you can just turn the volume down separate as well, and control all those things inside of the mixer. For mapping, what you have over here is the ability to control what keys or MIDI notes are mapped to individual drums. So you can individual notes, that's a snare, that's a kick drum. So if you want to play these back, rather than using the groove library, what you can do is just use a MIDI keyboard or an E drum drum set, and you can do all those things and map them depending on your setup for the different drums here. Lastly, I want to talk about the bounce feature. What you can do is to bounce your MIDI groove down to audio tracks by using the bounce feature here, and then you can drag those audio files into your DAW session and mix them there without even having to have Superior Drummer open. So if your computer is not very fast, or kind of doesn't have a lot of resources or RAM, what you can do is do this kind of bounce so that you can then process the recording just like you would inside of Pro Tools. So that's all I wanted to show you. The settings, there's plenty of control of different things that you can control inside of the plugin. Hopefully I gave you a good idea about what Toontrack has to offer with Superior Drummer. It's a great drum library to achieve realistic drum sounds if you don't have, all the mics and the drum set in the room to record in your studio.